Also, who's Mike? Phone guy?
I can't, Matt. Do you see how deep we are into this damn thing? Do you see?
I'm genuinely... Who is Mike?
Okay. So, Mike. Or Michael Afton.
Oh. Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you know who Mike is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Purple guy. No, that's the other Afton.
Hey guys, and welcome to GT Not Live, where it's another day and another layer in the iceberg. The series that never quits. The Five Nights at Freddy's iceberg just keeps on going. I guess we're just using this to stall for time until there's something else to say about this franchise. We need FNAF content and we need it now. No, we are so close. We are 4 from the bottom at this point. We have gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have gone through 9 chunks of this beast, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4 away. We're here. Faceless Bonnie, right there. Oh, we're so close. And today, we're going to get through 2. Probably not. But I'm calling it. I'm thinking positive. I'm secreting it to myself here in the universe. I'm saying, we're going to get through 2 of these. Not gonna, and then next one will be the final one. That's it.
Secreting or secreting?
Secreting. As in, like, The Secret.
Oh.
You know, have you ever read this? You're a well-read young man.
I'm familiar with The Secret. I've never read it.
The concept of, like, power of positive thinking. Yeah, it's just manifesting.
Okay.
So
not secreting.
No, I'm not secreting it to myself. I'd be secreting it out of myself, let's be honest. And honestly, join us for the next 45 minutes to an hour where I will be secreting a lot of FNAF knowledge out of myself and into your ear holes. That's what I'm doing. I'm secreting it. So with that beautiful mental image in mind, thanks for joining me in my secretions. Matt, real quick before we hop into this iceberg.
Yeah.
The final theory.
We really are close.
We're so close.
I can taste it.
But we're so close and yet so far. It's one of those where, like, you keep getting close to the end and it feels that the tunnel keeps extending.
Listen, it's a final sprint.
Okay.
Mad dash.
Okay, mad dash.
Did you have a question for me?
No, I was just saying, how are you doing?
Oh, aw.
Are you excited to learn about FNAF today?
I have never been more excited for anything in my life.
You had a week off. Was it nice to not have to think about animatronics for a little bit?
Oh my God, was it nice? Oh wow, was it nice?
Yeah.
But you know, yeah. My brain's empty, ready to fill it with whatever
useful knowledge
that the FNAF community has for us.
Great, awesome. Well, let's hop into it. Let's fill it with useful knowledge that the FNAF community has for us. Okay. So we're, like you guys know, if you've been watching this series, we're going through all of these details deep down into the FNAF iceberg. When it comes to lore and game-related stuff, I tend to be pretty good on, but stuff that is kind of external to that's been weaker for me. So we're all learning stuff via this series. And I believe, so there's a couple things here. I've talked about Chica's Party World in the past, but we'll recap some of these. So first off, what do I recognize from these? Gravity Falls coincidence. I believe this is a reference. So Gravity Falls, obviously a hugely popular series, a beloved series for myself, for Steph, for a lot of you in the fan base. We covered it a bunch of times on Film Theory. I wish there was more. We had Alex Hurst, the creator, on our St. Jude live stream. I believe this is probably a reference to. There's an episode in Gravity Falls where they go into an animatronic pizzeria restaurant or an animatronic restaurant, and it's, arcade and this and that. It's really a riff on Chuck E. Cheese, but there is a lot of similarities between the animatronic designs. I believe that is what they're calling out here. Let me double check that. But I believe this is, to this day, by the way, Jason's favorite Disney Channel show. Gravity Falls coincidence. Gravity Falls, Five Nights at Freddy's reference here. Okay. If you don't know what FNAF is, Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game. Okay. Yes. All right. The proof. Trailer for Season 2. Look at 17 seconds. Okay. Oh, this show is so good. Yep, there it is. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So there it is. There's animatronics, and they are bear and bird themed in Gravity Falls. Alex Hirsch ripped off FNAF. I've said it. That's it. Gravity Falls, Disney Animation Studios is ripping off Five Nights at Freddy's. Scott called that. I am so sorry. Sue the pants off of them right now. Do you see the resemblance, Matt?
Is that an owl?
It is an owl.
Why is there no owl in the FNAF franchise? Unless there is.
There is.
Of course there is.
Of course there is. I mean, this is a deep cut of the iceberg. It's not in here, but it kind of is connected to Brow Boy. So Brow Boy, let's hop over. Good segue, Matt.
Thank you.
So Brow Boy was originally going to be a generic enemy. I'm assuming that this is a reference to just FNAF World. So in FNAF World, you have all these super random characters drawn from like background art and this and that. Brow Boy is kind of this like off-brand balloon boy. He also seems to kind of share visual similarities to the types of puppets that you see hanging around in Sister Location. But Brow Boy is a character in FNAF World. He's one of the big bosses. It's just a chaos of a game. He's one of the big bosses that blocks your way. But this one seems pretty self-explanatory. Apparently he was going to be a generic enemy. To Matt's question about owls, there is a security bot inside of FNAF World. And in FNAF World, that security bot is a giant robot owl.
Can we see pictures?
Yep. I don't know what his name is. Security owl. This is, thank you, Night Spring Gaming. We're phasing through the world. How to get security. I'm not seeing a security owl around here. Clickbait. Did you just clickbait me? Night Spring Gaming, 287 subscribers. Did you just clickbait me? I'm clicking around. Oh, there's Brow Boy. Here's Brow Boy. At least you get to see him. So he was originally meant to be a generic character. There's a bunch of generic characters in this game. If you can't tell, this game is a hot mess. Look at the visuals.
What is going on?
Yep. Your guess is as good as anyone. This game is insane. So, okay, I'm not seeing the owl. Sorry, Night Spring Gaming. You're not getting my sub today. There it is. This one's got the thumbnail. Security Owl is OP.
Goodbye, snow cone. Think you're tough.
Okay.
That attack.
We're gonna find him. There it is. Okay.
You know,
Look at this map. Isn't this map great? Isn't this map so useful? This is it. This is the map that the game presents you. FNAF World. What a fever dream! I think it's super useful, Matt.
No, yeah. You make a left.
Yeah.
And then a right.
And then a right, and you go straight a little bit. Then you got to glitch through the wall. But yeah, it's clear as crystal. Okay, so here we go. There it is. Security Owl.
Okay, that's cool.
Right? It's cool. So to your question of where is the owl in Five Nights at Freddy's, double check. Yes. As far as I know, this is the only owl to currently exist in the franchise. But he does exist. He is secure.
But he's a robot.
He's a security device.
They're all robots.
They're right. I mean, you say that as if it's a surprise. Excuse me. Some of them are children stuffed into animatronics infused with remnant, and some of them are just a tangle of wires. Okay, so
right, obviously,
you know. There you go. For anyone starring FNAF World, it is recommended to have a character with gift boxes. Yes, Security Owl is incredibly difficult. Just the bosses by the end get really hard, and you have to just be stacked with all these superpowers. In order to beat the game, you actually have to glitch through the world to find secret presents. Those secret presents give you special abilities that make you almost undefeatable, but you need them in order to beat the final boss. It's crazy.
He looks like Thanos' glove.
He is. He's kind of like Thanos' glove. He's got little infinity stones in there. Absolutely.
That's the name of it.
The infinity stones. He does also look like an owl.
He does look like an owl.
Is Security Owl in FNAF World secretly Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet? Arrow. It's the new Sans' Nest right there, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking for content to draw out of FNAF. There it is. So anyway, that's Security Owl. That is Brow Boy. And that is Gravity Falls. Like I said, I think Gravity Falls is just riffing on Chuck E. Cheese, because that, everyone who grew up in that era knows Chuck E. Cheese. So it's kind of a thing. Let's see. Mike Kill All, if I recall. This was something to do with the trailers back in FNAF 2. So back in FNAF 2 days of theorizing, everyone was really big into audio cues. And it kind of persisted until FNAF 4, where the audio of trailers and of the game was constantly being analyzed because there were hidden messages. So we talked earlier about the Diary of the Yogi. Where was that one? That was somewhere in here. Autobiography of a Yogi. So that was what people thought like the final phone guy message from FNAF 1 was. And once they found that, all of a sudden everyone was like, hey, where are other audio clues that we can dive into here to figure out like the lore of this game, what's going on, what's coming next. And I believe Mike Kill All was an audio, like people thought they heard it in the audio of the trailer for FNAF 2, was it? This is one I never put much stock into because I like gave it a brief look and I'm like, oh, this doesn't make sense to me. Oh, yeah, okay, yes, FNAF 2 trailer reversed, okay, and it's debunked. Go figure, Dawko debunked that this is a thing, but here we go, Mike Kill All, let's see here. So today I'm making this is Powerful Kitten. Hopefully I am not being clickbaited. A lot of you know that when the kids are singing, the reversed version sounds like this, okay. So they're singing London Bridges. So if you reverse it, it's London Bridges in reverse. So, you know, as you can imagine, I dedicated 3 episodes in FNAF 2 around this entire concept. What do you think, Matt? Confirmed? Denied?
Maybe if the words as they were spoken were gibberish, and then you reverse them,
right?
And that's what it said,
right?
Maybe,
yeah.
But they're singing
a well-known, very established song. So really, the theory here goes, it has nothing to do with FNAF. It's just that London Bridges falling down has been seeded into our kids' minds, so that way they're constantly saying, Mike Kill All, Mike Kill All.
Also, who's Mike? Phone guy?
I can't, Matt. Do you see how deep we are into this damn thing? Do you see?
I'm genuinely, who is Mike?
Okay, so Mike or Michael Afton.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you know who Mike is?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Purple guy. No, that's the other Afton. William Afton is purple guy.
William Afton is purple guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mike Afton is the son.
Yes. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Yes, and he also is. There's a Mike Schmidt. So here's the FNAF 201 lesson for you, okay? So in FNAF 1, you get a paycheck at the end of the game that says Mike Schmidt. Congratulations, welcome to the family, whatever. And so that's Mike Schmidt. And for years, it was just like, oh, he's the security guard, right? Mike is the security guard. The name Mike shows up in sister location where you have a little post-it note on your hand unit that says Mike. So your name is Mike. There's also Michael Afton. We know that Michael Afton is a thing. The question, and one of the big connecting pieces here, was a theory that we had a couple years ago where Mike is actually it's the same person going back to all these different locations to kind of clean up the mess of his father. So Mike Schmidt is actually Michael Afton. Mike from sister location is actually Michael Afton. Like, what if it's him going back through and it's always been him this entire time? So Mike Schmidt equals Mike Afton equals his son, Killer's son.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Yeah,
Mike
so that's
is Mike is Mike.
Mike is Mike, yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Chica's Party World. This is a personal favorite of mine that I've held on to, and I've never really figured out what to do with. So obviously, we've talked throughout this entire Iceberg series about all the clues that Scott would hide on Scott Games. You know, there were hidden messages in the various images that you would scale up the brightness or the exposure and you would see them. There were hidden messages in the two websites talking to each other. You know, where Baby was on one and then someone else was on the other one and they were communicating back and forth across the websites. Chica's Party World was one of those clues. And of course, the last place to hide things was in the source code of the website, which was really cool. And it's been a shame to kind of see the series back away from that in recent years. But in the source code to Scott Games, at one point, there was a reference to Chica's Party World. So here, I'll pull it up for you. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this to this day is like actually one of my favorite puzzles that was ever seeded out to the community. One of my favorite things that was hidden in the source code in between games, right? So in the lead up to Sister Location, no one knew what Sister Location was, what was going on. They were starting to tease out like, hey, here's this like spaghetti monster now we know as Ennard, but here's this character, right? So we were trying to figure out what is going on with this new game. And then all of a sudden the URL, the source code drops here, and you have what seems to be a very random series of just letters and numbers, right? ANM01, BBY, MON, BKD, Tuesday, you know. And so bit by bit, we were able to piece together like, oh, this is a schedule of animatronics going to different places, like what their schedule is for the week. Like some are being sent out to parties, some are in parts and service, some are being maintenanced. I wish every time I scrolled over this, here, can I just see the image? Yeah, okay, there we go, good. So yeah, and so bit by bit, we were able to piece together the fact that this was just an animatronic like service schedule, slash maintenance schedule, slash like sending out schedule, with ANM1 being BBY or baby, and then booked Tuesday, booked Friday, booked whatever, available Saturday, etc., etc. Animatronic 2 is BAL, Ballora, and so on and so forth, right? You have Funtime Freddy, FTF, Funtime Foxy, FTF it could also be. So that was kind of the first chunk, which was really cool. Below that, though, was this client directory where Chica's Party World is mentioned. And this is, I believe, really the only place that Chica's Party World is ever mentioned. And, you know, birthday accessories, novelties. So, and then below that, you have client directory 002, private booking for a children's birthday. So it showed, and then it's maintenance of care of Afton Robotics. So this was, I think, I believe, if I'm really remembering this right, this was the first time that Afton was hinted at in the games. Prior to that, we had the novels, and there was talk about William Afton as this evil security guard guy who is killing kids. And I'm like, oh my gosh, William Afton is Purple Guy in the book series. And now we have William Afton here being hinted at in the upcoming Sister Location. This was his first time, and I'm like, this is him. It's one and the same. Our killer will be revealed to be William Afton, Purple Guy, in Sister Location, and he was. So this taught us that it was a service location. It was licensing out the animatronics they were leaving for parties and things like that. But Chica's Party World, I never got any sort of explanation. It never went anywhere. It's never really been mentioned as far as I remember again. And I've always held on to the fact, and it's largely presumed that because that's there to explain why Chica is not in Sister Location, because you'll notice that Chica is absent from that entire game. And so I think that was like an excuse for her to not be in there. But to me, it also says that Chica, for a period of time, had her own restaurant chain, which is really interesting. And it's something that I've never quite figured out why or how it fits into the lore, like why it matters at all. From a timeline perspective, I've debated about what that actually says about things. But yeah, Chica's Party World is this really cool... And you also have Circus Baby's Pizza World. So I don't know if like Scott, when developing the lore, decided to lean more into like, oh, Circus Baby has her thing. You know, so that'll be the standalone restaurant, and Chica's just kind of exists too. But yep, really, really interesting thing. And this, without question, is to this day one of my favorite hints that we ever got in a FNAF teaser ever. Let's see. Rise of Franken-Freddy. I'm assuming that is an early name for Curse of Dreadbear DLC. Yes. Yep. Rise of Frank and Freddy Alpha. Yeah, okay. Ooh, hey, security breach. Look at that. Yeah, it was the pre-release prototype of Help Wanted's Curse of Dreadbear DLC. Yeah, okay. And let's see what it had. I'm curious. I've never actually seen this. I was just guessing based off of the fact that, Frank and Freddy and Dreadbear in the FNAF VR game is very much like Freddy Fazbear crossed with Frankenstein. Only days after the DLC's initial release, a Reddit post by NR Superstar was made on the official subreddit about his accidental discovery of an old build. Oh, so this wasn't even a test or anything. It was found inside the game. That's cool. When he downloaded the DLC to play for himself, he discovered that the game was also attempting to download a large update file. Steel wool. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Feels like history repeating itself. That's actually really funny. Curiously, he stopped the update and started the game to see if it would work. To his surprise, the game worked, and he was introduced to the alpha build of the DLC, including the old name. Before being given its current name, Rise of Frank and Freddy was the original name given to the DLC, with many references still containing the files. Get out of here. This is obnoxious. There we go. Dreadbear. Besides the original Frank and Freddy title being on the projector, there were quite a few obvious signs of unfinished content. Again, steel wool. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Fast forward to where we are today with security breach and all this stuff that's hidden in the game and unused. Available level segments contain earlier icon images that resemble final ones without lighting. Levels are listed differently. Afraid of the Dark only has Pirate Ride and Corn Maze. Spooky Mansion. Hallway Chase seems almost identical, but with a lot of glitches. And yeah, so it's earlier versions of everything. That's really cool. But yeah, there you go. That's wild that someone just downloaded the game and they're like, hey, what's this? Let me stop the download and play it. Very cool. But yeah, so that's Rise of Frank and Freddy. That's cool. Teases and anniversary images. Yeah. I mean, that's anniversary images. That's been a thing for a long time. And I think we mentioned this in a previous one. I might not be remembering. These are all starting to blend together. But yeah, Scott would release like behind the scenes stuff back in the day. And then he would release images, and inside the images there'd be, it'd be like fandoms and things like that. And it's like, oh, that's cool, there's everyone. But he would like slip in a small detail here or there that people would be like, wait a minute, what was that? Which was, which was just brilliant, right? It's like, oh, this is a cool model. I like seeing how these things are made. This is really interesting. Oh, look at Chica's model. The cupcake's winking at me. That's really cool. I'm trying to think of what was one of the things that was hidden in here. So you get to see kind of the layout and how the jump scare happens with Bonnie coming up close. It was really one of the first times that you got to see like a designer opening up I believe this was one of them. Really opening up the gates to like, hey, this is how the game gets made. This is a thank you for supporting the series. Really, really cool. And then, yeah, I remember that he showed like, oh, and by the way, this is Springtrap opened up. And everyone's like, wait, what are all this red tubing, right? Is it blood? Is that veins? Is that arteries? And it's like, yeah, there's someone trapped inside. So it was, in a way, starting to confirm a lot of the theories that people had, and that we had assumed, like, oh, we think that there's someone inside of Springtrap and this and that. But now we know for sure.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this might be a dumb one.
No, you're totally fine.
For as long as I've worked here,
yes,
I had assumed that when you said people were inside the animatronics, it's like the spirit of people.
Yes.
Do you mean to tell me that their innards were removed and placed inside an animatronic? Like so, they're physically alive inside of the.
99% of them are not.
Okay.
You are right in assuming that.
It's like metaphorically they're trapped inside.
Well, kind of. So, okay, the missing children's incident kids, the first 5 kids or whatever, like the kind of the main group of kids that were killed.
Yeah.
William Afton hides their bodies inside of the animatronic suits. Mm-hmm. So there were children stuffed inside, right?
They're not like being kept alive.
They were dead.
Yeah.
Or it's debatable when their deaths occurred relative to them being stuffed inside the suits, because in the books, sometimes William Afton like traps, like he'll be like, I've got you trapped inside of Golden Freddy's. And so the kid, like instead of wrapping them with like tape or rope, like some sort of old school like cartoon villain, he sticks them inside of like an animatronic body, and they kind of sit there with their head poking out, and they're like, hey, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't move, the spring locks will fire off and they'll kill you.
Okay.
Like that's how it goes in the game. Okay. So the games are like, yeah, the bodies were hidden in the suits, but it could also be kids were trapped in there or whatever.
Okay.
In sister location, right, animatronics were designed specifically to kidnap kids. So the animatronics there were built with big bellies, just like we see with Security Breach, where they would grab the kid and keep him in the tummy, right? So that was a kidnapping mechanism, not necessarily like I'm stuffing dead bodies, and the kids' spirits weren't necessarily trapped in there, right? They would be removed and experimented on by Afton. What you're seeing here, though, is William Afton's dying. So in FNAF 3, William Afton, who always wore this yellow bunny suit when he would kill people, he was in a spring-lock suit. And the spring-lock suits can be worn as both suits, but they can also be walking around animatronics. And you fold everything to the sides, right? And you can put it on. But they're always like, don't move too fast and don't get it wet, otherwise it's going to snap shut and it might kill you. So William Afton in FNAF 3, we see what happens, which is he ultimately puts on his yellow suit. Mistakes are made. It snaps shut, and so his body basically gets impaled to death by all these like locking systems inside there. So there is a physical, so Springtrap, when you're thinking about Springtrap, there is a human body who is alive inside, or has historically been alive inside of there, kept alive by his own determination.
Okay.
So when you see like the organs and stuff twisted around, it is him fusing, the organic him fusing with the robot. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Burnt Freddles. I think we looked this one up. This one is literally just a different model in FNAF VR, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of FNAF VR, some interesting models. Burnt Freddles are unused characters in FNAF VR. Would have appeared during the Build a Mangle stage. Build a Mangle was one of the puzzle games, so you have charred Freddles. Cool. That's it. They have a burnt texture similar to burnt Foxy. Excellent. That's all you need. They covered up the view kind of like the mini arenas did. Awesome. That was an easy one. Nice and easy and short and to the point. Glass pressure trigger. I don't know that one, actually. It sounds familiar. Yeah, I figured it's an unused... Oh, is this with the glass on the windows? Okay. There's an audio clip of a female voice telling the player to not push against the circus baby's glass. Yeah, okay, I had heard at one point, and maybe I didn't know that there was an audio cue to this, but that the glass with Circus Baby at one point was a feature tied into the whole thing where the glass would break or shatter. There you go.
Glass pressure trigger. Please do not push against the glass.
Which makes you really want... And also this ties into... we talked about this in a previous one of these too, where you had a lot more playing with the idea of the windows. And again, this is with Sister Location. There seemed like there were a lot of ideas there that ultimately didn't make it past the cutting room floor. But you had all these windows that never truly got utilized, right? You at one point you flash them up and you see like people hanging from the ceiling. But that's really it. The entire time, though, you're going to check on Baby, and you're going to check on Ballora in her studio, and Foxy in his studio, and you never see anything. You're just, like, lighting up the windows, and you're expecting something to happen, and nothing happens. And so it's interesting that the windows seem like they might have been more of a component at some point, and then just never made it through. So glass pressure warning. There you go. That's cool. I like that. Freedom. I think this is a... Is this something that Foxy said at one point? This is another one of those, like, I heard this in the audio. FNAF Freedom. Yeah, FNAF 2. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Why Foxy is screaming freedom. This is tickling nodes in the back of my brain, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I knew it was... Okay, so here's the jump scare. That's the standard jump scare. Although, to be fair, I feel like all the jump scares in FNAF 2 had that sound. Like, there weren't that many different jump scare sounds in FNAF 2. So the fact that Foxy does it seems unimportant. It seems like it's just all the animatronics. Yeah, is that supposed to sound like freedom? Did you hear it, Matt? I don't get it at all.
I
mean, if you're listening to it, it would be a 2-syllable word.
Yeah.
Right? That's 2 syllables. He keeps saying rainbow.
PETA.
PETA.
Yeah.
Save me. I mean, and there's no S. Like, you need that's it. Wow. So needless to say, that one ultimately played a part in our Five Nights at Freddy's Final Theory Part 3. It is. Yeah, that one I did not. So some, like Chica's Party, again, this goes to the theorizing in me. Some, like Chica's Party World, I make a mental note of that. I'm like, that seems important to a lore timeline. That's interesting. Other ones like Freedom and Mike Kill All, yeah, I keep those in the brain a little less because I'm like, I don't think those are going to really help. Withered Bonnie bow tie clip. Yes, okay, yeah, this is it clipping through his face, I believe. Withered Bonnie has a different face. I think it's literally as simple as, yeah, Withered Bonnie's bow tie. Why does Withered Bonnie's bow tie clip through his head? 'Cause it was a mistake. Done. Like, I believe that would be the solution to your question there. Looks like Withered Bonnie cured his bow tie clipping. Yeah, it used to pass through his face, and now it doesn't anymore. It is as simple as that. Did we get all of these?
You missed Seal Vent.
Ooh, Seal Vent. I actually don't know Seal Vent. I'm assuming that's a FNAF 3? Because FNAF 3 is where the vent... Yep, seal the vents. Okay. How do you seal the vents? So, the sound heard when sealing vents. What? I can't seal the vents. Is anyone having this issue every night, no matter what? I can't seal any of the vents. I uninstalled and reinstalled. Is this just a problem with sealing the vents? Vent cams here. Let's see. Well, Springtrap is in his vent. Is that okay? Default mode, first bat. Seal vent. The fact that it's in quotes makes me think that it's like a line that was cut or something. Seal the vents. Here, let's do seal. Maybe there's a big animatronic seal that goes through the vents, and that's what it is. It goes, arf, arf, arf. So you got Springtrap coming at you on one end, but then you have animatronic seal going, arf, 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 arf,
Yeah,
that way.
I like the idea that it's like that's his name.
Yeah,
Seal Vent.
Seal Vent.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Seal Vent. There's an unused button, and it shows Seal Vent. There it is. There it is. Ba-da-dun! Man, can you imagine the iceberg for Security Breach? If this is the sort of stuff that made the iceberg for FNAF's 1 through current iteration of game, the amount of stuff that would be on a Security Breach iceberg,
Yeah.
because of how 80 gigabytes of content is in the bottom of the iceberg because it didn't make it to the actual game. Here, though, you got Seal Vent. I like Seal Vent. Can we please... Dear Steel Wool Studio, Scott Cawthon, whoever is in charge of making decisions at this point, can you please include the new animatronic Seal Vent? Arf, arf, and this is how he goes. He comes out and he's like, instead of doing like, or freedom, instead of doing a jump scare that says freedom, or my kill, he just goes, arf, arf, and he smashes his head, smashes your head between his animatronic flippers and pops your head like a pimple. That's it. Arf, arf, and your eyes pop out of your skull. It's like, whoa! And suddenly it's mature FNAF. I like it. I think you can merchandise that. I think that's, plushable across the board. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Real quick, since I've got maybe 5 minutes, what else do we know here? Purple Guy in Deltarune. We know Purple Guy in Deltarune. There's a character towards the end of Deltarune when you're exploring the town. I believe it's Pizza Face. But it's the one who shouts all the time, if I recall. This is thinking back a bunch of years. But he makes reference to Purple Guy. It's Purple Guy Delta. He literally just calls out it's a Purple Guy reference and it's funny. Purple Guy, man, that guy. That's right. Yep, Deltarune is a great Five Nights at Freddy's reference. Yep. So near the end of the game, when you're talking to everyone in the town, Purple Guy reference off to the corner. it's delightful, and everyone's like, yeah, finally our two games crossed over. What else do I know here? Help wanted box art used fan art. Yes, so we did a whole episode about this one, that there was a period of time as FNAF was expanding into a lot of different things, and as as Scott was saying yes to more opportunities, right? And he was letting other people touch his games, and Scholastic was doing the book series and this and that. There was a lot of issues with quality control and maintenance of the assets, right? So you had a lot of instances where either a book series or a game would be using fan art. And in this case, so yes, Help Wanted, the VR game, used fan art. There was, I forget which character it was, but basically the artwork is of a bunch of fused animatronic heads together into this like one big amalgamation. And one of, if not multiple of the heads were renders done by other people. We did an episode about this because, we've, over the years, historically, have struggled with using fan art, and we've, worked really, really hard to make sure that that's an issue that's been kind of squared away at this point. That rarely, if ever, happens. But it's hard, right? And we did this episode where we talk about kind of our struggles with it, and also, how Scott probably shouldn't have struggled with it because, it's all his assets, but also how fan art falls into this questionable legal territory, especially because a lot of people in this community do fan art that is so nearly identical to the originals that it's like, well, it's actually Scott's art and he's giving you permission to use the likenesses of these characters. And like, it's fan art has always been kind of this kind of weird gray area that legal systems has never really considered. But, it exists, and it's an awesome way to express your fandom. But then, because he used, his team or a team that's working with him used a Chica likeness that is so similar that they can't tell the difference, and it gets fused into this other artwork. Where does the legality there fall? But yeah, anyway, long story short, there were a lot of books. Scott was struggling with a lot of this, and at this point, it seems like it's been really cleaned up. He's very aware of it. It hasn't happened in a long time, but around that period of Help Wanted and the kind of like Scholastic book series, there was a lot of these things popping up. So that was the thing. Nightmare's Brain is another one I know, where Nightmare's Brain was Nightmare is the special animatronic that you get at the end of FNAF 4. He's kind of like the big final boss. And he's a transparent, like invisible Fredbear. Weird design. One of those characters that was just introduced into the game, and I've never been quite satisfied with the way that I place him in there. On one hand, he seems like he should be the embodiment of death, right? So if FNAF 4 is all the story of the crying child getting bitten, losing part of his brain, that is why, he's scared of Fredbear. That's why it's the big monster at the end of this game. It's kind of like the final boss. That seemed to make sense to me. And so then Nightmare is literally the embodiment of death, right? He is not literally, he is symbolically the embodiment of death, taking him away. It's night 7. It's after you've gotten the official ending of the game, if I recall correctly. So it's kind of a bonus night anyway, and it's kind of continuing on the story. I always really liked that theory, and that's what Nightmare has always been in my kind of headcanon. The thing that makes it weird, and the problem with that theory, is the fact that he has a brain. You can see it right there in the middle of his head. He's got a brain. And it's like, why would an animatronic have a brain? Like, why, if it's a figment, why would a transparent animatronic have a brain? Leading you to then question, well, going back to Curse of Dreadbear. In Curse of Dreadbear, there's also this theme of a brain being put inside of an animatronic. So is this real? Is it not? Is this William Afton seeing these animatronics coming to life and seeing these animatronics, being infused with Remnant and having spirits and souls inside of him? And so he's like, well, what's going on? I need to figure out how to harness the power of living creatures to make living animatronics. And so he tries the human brain. That's kind of one of the ideas that I had, and I think we did a light theory about it. I don't think I ever leaned too heavily into that because I didn't love that concept. But, it's an organic brain inside of what is very clearly an animatronic's body. Like, you see the inner workings of him. So he is a physical presence to some extent. Yeah, to me, that's kind of the best case scenario. You have a control center of the brain, and maybe it's Afton trying to just like it could be a reference. The brain could be a reference to like the kid get bit and his brain got injured or whatever. It's kind of a weird way to reference it. Alternatively, it is the idea of, you know, Afton doing experiments to try and create living animatronics, and he doesn't know at that point that it's Agony/Remnant that's bringing these animatronics to life. So he's like, well, if I stick it into a brain and create an AI, I think that's the other way to do it. But yeah, that is this idea. The brain in Nightmare is again one of those weird design details that always has existed back in my head. I think there's a couple ways to explain it, but never has really truly made a whole lot of sense. Open box, I think this is the last one that I have time for today. But hey, we've gotten through some of these, which is good. Open box, I believe, is, so in FNAF 4, it ends with the mysterious box. This was something that drove us nuts for years. What's inside the box? It's a locked box. You can jiggle the locks. And it ends with the phrase, some things are best left forgotten for now. And so everyone was like, well, what's in the box? And it's the biggest tease ever in a game. Like, you want to know what's inside the box. And Scott, shortly after the game's release, is like, hey, I decided that maybe the community wouldn't accept it that way. Like, I had a vision for what's inside the box. Maybe the community wouldn't accept it that way. So, you know, I think maybe some things are best left forgotten forever. You know, I will just leave the box forever closed, which super unsatisfying. Real glad about that one. It's been confirmed that I believe what was inside the box has changed multiple times by him. I think 2 or 3. Or I had a theory that's changed 3 or 4 times, but I think he confirmed that it's changed at least once in an interview with Dawko. What it is, who knows? A couple things real quick is the open box is a reference to the fact that in the assets for the game, again, as you're digging through the code, I believe that there is an asset for the open box. There is an asset for the unlocked locks inside of it, as well as an asset for an open box. So it was intended to be opened at some point, and then no one just ever got access to it, or Scott never made it available. As far as what is actually inside the box, I've talked about it a lot. People seem to not want to believe me on it, but the books over and over and over and over and over again keep hitting over the head the fact that there is a human child, that like there is a human robot child, human robot hybrid inside the boxes. Charlie specifically, the puppet, the girl who goes on to become the puppet, right? She is stuffed into boxes so many times in the various iterations of the book. I believe in both Fazbear Frights and in the novel series, there's all these references to people being trapped inside of chests. And then I open the chest and there was Charlie, and she comes out and she's like, where was I? And she's a human robot. So like, that's always been an option to me of like what's inside the box. It seems like that's what the books are trying to tell people. The other thing that I said back in the day was like maybe it was family photos or whatever. Could be, you know, that was just like, this is what makes the most sense. Then we also had the last theory with FNAF 6 trying to find a way to bring in the box. If you look at how they show the map during the end of that game, as Henry is setting fire to the entire pizzeria, saying like, you know, leave the demon to his demons, or not leave, hey, burn in heck, William Afton. They show the pizzeria simulator, this fake pizzeria that was created to trap these animatronics, and you see that it is the exact kind of like the rectangular shape, and it looks a lot like the FNAF 4 box. And so I'm like, hey, this is Scott coming to a conclusion about the box. He's giving us kind of a not necessarily literal box, but a kind of figurative version of this box that everyone is now trapped inside and they're burning to death, and that is the box. So there's a couple different ways to take the box. Will we ever truly know what was inside of it? I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll be able to wheedle it out of someone, but I think the books have strongly hinted that the original implication or intention was that it was going to be like a robot kid inside the box who was kidnapped there or whatever. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is FNAF for today. We didn't get through 2 entire ones, but we got through like 1.5, which is better than we've been doing for other stuff. So that puts us that much closer to the end. Another 10 of these to go, just in time for the security breach iceberg to come out, at which point then we'll dig through the 20 episode series that is the Security Breach Iceberg. Hopefully you learned something, Matt. I like ending these episodes with what you learned. Tell me one thing that you learned.
Oh, I learned that that though not all of the animatronics are artery having presences inside of animatronic suits, some of them are.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Good one. And that's a very core fundamental thing.
Yes.
That's very important. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this is still educational. I hope you're taking away things. I'm learning some of this stuff as well. The glass pressure thing was really interesting. That's fun. And who knows, tune in to the Security Breach DLC where they'll have worked in Seal Vent, new animatronic that's going to be hitting toy shelves probably before he gets implemented into the game because the merch always hits first. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, remember, it wasn't a live stream, but it was a video for you. See ya!